Hi.
Greetings. We're in Genesis chapter 31 at verse 17.
When Jacob rose and set his sons and his wives on camels, and he carried away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had gained, his acquired livestock which he had gained in Padram Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that were in her father's house. And Jacob stole away unknown to Laban and Laban the Syrian, in that he did not tell him that he intended to flee. So he fled with all that he had. He arose and crossed the river and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. And Laban was told on the third day that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But God had come to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, "Be careful that you speak to Jacob, neither good nor bad." So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mountains of Gilead.
And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done, that you have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and trick me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs, with tambourine and lyre? Why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' And now you have gone away, because you long greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?"
Then Jacob answered and said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I said, 'Perhaps you would take your daughters from me by force.' With whomever you find your gods, do not let him live. In the presence of our brethren, identify what I have of yours, and take it with you." For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, into Leah's tent, and into the two maids' tents, but he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols, put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, "Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of women is with me." And he searched, but he did not find the household idols.
I suppose the thing that hits me between the eyes is Jacob saying to Laban, "Anyone with whom you find your God shall not live." So apparently the theft of a family's gods was a death penalty sin in the eyes of Jacob even. So what does that say about the level of his godly thinking at this point? But whatever it says even more about Rachel, because what has she done here? She's, first of all,
she's
stolen the family gods,
Yeah.
which is a serious offense. That might explain why she keeps it a secret even from her husband. But she then deceives her father that she hasn't, to demonstrate she hasn't got them.
Yeah. So this trait of deception seems to be running the family.
Both sides.
On both sides, you see it all the time, this deception. So she's a thief, and she's a liar, and she's an idol worshiper.
Oh my.
So that doesn't look too good.
So are either Jacob or Rachel, who after all becomes the mother of Israel, along with her sister Leah,
Pure worshippers.
pure worshippers?
Yeah. But God is preserving them. He's protecting them.
Yeah.
In spite of of the things they do wrong, he still protects them because he's made a promise. I thought it was interesting too that Laban says, the God of your the God of your father spoke to me last night. So they do keep on talking about this distinction between the God of Jacob and his family and the rest of them.
Yeah.
So I think this idea that she would want those idols, that's partly, I think, superstition on her part. And I think we're going to get into that with some of the quotes here.
Yeah. Jacob, we just saw in a previous chapter, is superstitious about the fertility of his animals, and he associates that with putting certain objects before their eyes.
Yeah. And this is similar. For her, these gods are the possible guarantee that she'll have children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she wants to take them.
But she obviously has the same thought about this as her father, who associates gods with families. Your father's God is not necessarily my God. Yeah. We can't really relate to this, can we?
No. But I think it's because we don't put ourselves back in the time frame. What was the common beliefs of the people of the day? You can't assume everyone thought one God like we do. And all other gods are idols. It was very different. This is the beginnings of God's revelation.
So what can we say about Rachel's spirituality? Well, I don't see any. I see superstition. And even in Jacob, verse 31, when Jacob answers, well, the question from Laban is, why did you do this?
Yeah.
This is such a great sin, and he acknowledges how great a sin it is. He says, because I was afraid.
Yeah.
Jacob is still dominated by fear.
Yeah. Now, when he decides to leave, both the daughters agree with him. So I think similar to Laban, they can see evidence that God is blessing Jacob. So to that level, they have some faith that God is working with my husband or my son-in-law. It's obvious that God is with him.
And later, at the end of his life, Jacob, of course, will famously say that the God of his fathers was with him all his life. But he doesn't act like he knows that at the time.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more of that in chapter 35, because when does Jacob actually take a bold step against this idea of teraphim, family gods? It's not until much later, when the children have got him into such trouble, when he stops on the way to going back to Bethel.
Which he shouldn't have done.
And the children have now grown up and are now teenagers, and they get into a mess which creates what Jacob calls a stench. You've made my name a stench.
Yeah. But he was acting in disobedience because he was supposed to be on his way home.
Yeah.
And he settles there, builds a house, raises his children there.
Yeah. So the level of spirituality in the whole family, according to the evidence of the story as it develops, is not high. But God is with them all the way through. Here's a quote from John Davis in Paradise to Prison, his commentary on Genesis. He says, teraphim were thought by the ancients to guarantee fertility. The majority of teraphim were nude goddesses whose sexual features are accentuated. Rachel then wanted to guarantee that she would continue to bear children.
And then Griffith Thomas, in his commentary on Genesis, says, the true character of Laban is clearly seen from the fact that his daughters entirely sided with Jacob against their own father. Even though it was husband against father, they were evidently and heartily one with Jacob. They too had experienced their father's selfishness and greed, and were ready to approve of their husband's project to go with him, while not laying undue stress on this, how do you say that?
Acquiescence?
Acquiescence.
Acquiescence, right.
Acquiescence and approval. It is important not to regard it as a testimony to Jacob's general faithfulness, so far as the wives had the spiritual discernment to judge of it.
So yeah, he goes forward in faith, Jacob, that is, and his wives go with him. So that you can say is little faith anyway.
Yeah.
But they're still dominated by fear from apparently from day to day. And our link is Adal Safar. Old Testament patriarchal history is not patriotic. There's no hero worship nor hidden secrets, right?
Yeah, no family hidden secrets.
They're
Everything's
all
laid out.
They're all laid out for us in Scripture.
The good and the bad.
See you soon.